Hello YouTube, this is Callum from English Shooting, and as you can probably tell, this is a review and overview of the Sparc II red dot scope from Vortex Optics. Now, many of you will already know my love for red dot scopes and also my love for Vortex Optics, and I know what you're thinking. No, I haven't gone out and bought another piece of Vortex Optics or another one of their products. This is actually on lend from a shooting buddy called Alex. He's very kindly given me this to review and to test out. Now, going back to my love of red dot scopes and red dot optics, you will all know that I have an EOTech, which of course is regarded as a premium red dot alongside the aim points, which I think is a better comparison towards this scope. Now, I'm a bit spoiled that I have that sort of optic, and it's an exceedingly high quality optic. But what I want to say right off the bat is that this can easily be compared to them. Okay, the price is £300 cheaper than any kind of aim point or EOTech, but I don't think you're getting £300 lesser scope with that. Vortex have made a very good name for themselves very quickly for their quality optics at exceedingly good prices, and I think this just once again lives up to it. When you get the box, obviously there's your scope. You can see that you've got this high raise mount on there, but that's not all you get. And again, it just continues the theme of value for money. You get some protectors, you get scope covers, which again, they're not, the most fancy of scope covers, but they do the job. You couldn't say that they were shoddy at all. They're very well made, robust, do the job, and they come with the scope for free. If you just want to see, they just pop straight on and then pop straight off. And also you then open up the packaging and you get to see everything else they give you. You get two different mounts, different heights and different types, as well as this razor mount there. You get spare screws, you get all the Allen keys, and you also get a spare battery. So before we look at the scope, actually, I just want to show you guys the spec. I think this is what a lot of people are initially interested in. And you can look at the length, weight, height, whatever, lens diameter. What you really want to know is battery life. As you can see here, you've got on max brightness 300 hours, and on min brightness you've got 5,000 hours. And I think sort of comparing that to the EOTech, it certainly puts the EOTech to shame. I think the EOTech has something like 700-800 hours around there, and then obviously the aim points, they have thousands of hours worth of battery life, but this can compete with both of them for that. Now, obviously, the other thing you want to know is the red dot itself. Now, obviously, it is just a red dot, unlike the EOTech that has the sort of target shape. It is just a red dot, and it's a 2 MOA bright red dot. Now, that, for the price point, I think is exceedingly good. Obviously, aim point and EOTech, you can get finer, but as we're going to talk about, they're kind of 3 times the price. I think that is pretty good for the price point. So as I said, the scope at the moment has the high rise mount on it, and I'm not going to take this off because I don't want to play around with it, because obviously it's not my scope. But you can see that actually, although it's not as small at all as the Aimpoint Micro, but it's still a very compact, very small scope. And if you were to remove that mount and have it lower, it's going to be almost unnoticeable on any gun. All right, I've got small fingers, so they may not be the best representation of size, but you can see if I've got small fingers, this thing is pretty tiny. As I said, the build quality of kind of Vortex optics in general are superb, and this lives up to it completely. It's got a lovely silky smooth finish to the metal, and this is consistent all the way around. The kind of the level of detail and the end product, the end finish is just superb. You can feel that all the parts on it match together perfectly. There's very little room for error or very little tolerance issues with this scope. Everything's stiff, but it's in a good way. It's in a well-fitting way. So looking around the scope, obviously you can see that this is the business end. To turn it on, you just hit any of the buttons. My only criticism, I think, of the scope are the buttons. They are fairly stiff, And with gloves, I think that you wouldn't have the positive response from the button to know entirely if it was on or off. Obviously, turning it on, it's not a bigger deal, because if you're looking down the scope, you're going to see that red dot appear and you're going to know it's on. You know, turning it off, you might, you know, second guess yourself, go to turn it off, chucking it away in the bag, and leave it on accidentally. And to turn it off, you do hold the two buttons together, just like pretty much any other red dot. That's how it works. There's no other buttons on it, and you can see it turned off, but I have found that it's caught me out a couple of times. But again, the buttons are robust, and there is a compromise there between them being kind of a positive response and very, you know, long lasting. And I think they've gone for the well made long lasting approach. You can see on the side there, it's obviously saying Sparc II. You've got the nice Vortex Optics logo on the side, and the other bits that you're going to be really interested in are these three compartments here. The main one, the biggest one, is, as you can probably guess, is where the battery goes. It's just a little button cell battery, something you can pick up from Sainsbury's, nothing hard to get hold of at all. And there it is. You can see it took quite a lot of unscrewing there, and again, that's good. You don't want this flying off, and even if it was to come loose, you've got this little attachment here, and I think it's these little details here that make the biggest difference, because you don't want to be losing these caps, and the fact that they're always attached on like that, I think, is a brilliant idea, and it's kind of well thought out by Vortex right there. Now, your other two, again, as you can probably guess, are your windage and elevation. Again, lovely fitting, lovely kind of mating feel to the screw there. Again, you've got these catchments here, these attachments, and they, obviously, the smaller caps you definitely don't want to be dropping on the floor, and this just makes sure, obviously, it doesn't. You can see there that it's a nice big slot to put in pretty much anything you want to. Take of that what you may. You can put a coin in it, a screwdriver, even I would think a credit card would fit in there quite nicely. Anything you're going to have sort of rattling around in your pockets, which is always kind of the bane of my life when I'm down the range. You want something that's easy to actually adjust. Again, I'm not going to play around with it because it's zeroed in for Alex, although I've obviously played around with it quite a lot myself already, so he's probably going to have to re-zero it. And again, it goes on quite nicely, well made, well sort of fitting feel to it. On the front of the red dot, you can see that there is this sort of Mars coloured coating, this red mirrored effect. Now, with your EOTechs and aim points, I think you will be getting a little bit more. You'll be getting that military spec, that extra robustness, and that kind of extra crisp red dot. There is a very slight fuzz around the red dot on the Vortex. That's sounding worse than it actually is. It's only very minor, but that's something that when you're paying an extra £300 for an EOTech or an aim point, you don't get. But if you're on a budget, and you haven't got £400-500 to spend on an optic, I don't think you're making a massive compromise with this. If you want something to strap on a 15-22 and go plinking down the range with, this will do you for years upon years upon years. This is going to be absolutely perfect, and you're going to have an amazing time with it. This is going to perform for what I'm going to use it for. This is going to perform just fine, and it's gonna perform above just fine. It's a cracking little scope, and I really honestly don't think that anything else around it, under or just above it, is going to be able to beat it for performance and value for money. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope you've found it useful. As always, thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you soon.